Well, it's Monday morning again. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
I trust that your weekend was good. It was an absolutely, other than Armwood Hawks, an absolutely crappy football weekend for this house. For most houses in Florida, actually. Seeing that the Bucks lost. Let's see, the
Seminoles
lost, the
lost.
Gators lost, and the Hurricanes lost. It's not
USF.
USF even lost, got blown out.
Football has
it's
not been fun this
it
year.
is a it is not no joy in Mudville as far as football goes. So you know we're a football family, so we're going to mention that every now and again.
Every week.
We haven't mentioned it every week. We've been good about that, I think. Today's program, it is entitled, is the power and importance of agreement and direction in relationships. Now, obviously, it's important in marriage, but it's important, like we always say, in every relationship you have, whether it's friend relationships, business relationships, work relationships. There's strength and there's an importance in agreement. And I'm telling you, when I'm talking about agreement, I'm talking about agreement in the big things. You're going to have disagreements about
Sometimes you have to
what
agree
color
to disagree.
what color you're going to paint the wall. Yeah, we're painting. Amazing Gray. So it might not have been my first, but
He's loving it.
I like it on the wall. But the contact paper for the cabinets that she's picked out, I'm not feeling. But I think it's sometimes.
He'll love that.
Hey, Jess. I think it's important. Yeah, because you're going to disagree on the little things, and that's fine. But we're talking about the major things. And if you're just getting married, one of the major things is kids. Are you going to have the children? We were watching a program last evening, Last Man Standing, which is on Fox now, which is great, by the way.
It's a great show.
It's great. One of the daughters had been sort of fooling her husband, Kyle, who's kind of an idiot, who wants to have children, but she didn't. But she's sort of been fooling him on the times they were having sex to sort of prevent them from having children. That's a big thing.
That's a big deceptive thing to do to your spouse. And it's not that I've heard of that in real life,
Yeah.
where people, they don't want to have kids, and women, you have the control of that. And they have been thinking that they're trying to get pregnant when they're not really
They're
trying.
not. They're not. They find the pills. They find out the wife's on. It's got an implant. They got the whatever they call that. I don't know what they call it. And or they're just having sex at times that they know that the chance of them getting pregnant are lowered. So if you have to agree on the big things. Children are one of them. Faith is one of them. I think a lot of times people, because they're in love. How about in love they get?
Yeah. Lust.
Yeah, they're in lust. They're in hardcore lust. They sort of put faith on the back burner, thinking that they'll work that out later. And then
I did that.
And
I'm going to be honest. I
know,
did that.
they'll work that stuff out later. Sometimes it works out.
It worked out for me.
A lot of times it doesn't work out.
A lot of times it doesn't, and you end up having to be in another relationship.
Yeah, because you didn't consider that as one of the important things that you were going to agree on, and the direction that you were going to go. I've said this a bunch of times. I'm going to say it one more time. Relationships suffer because of when you have expectations that aren't met, and that's when they suffer. That's when you have the biggest problems, when expectations are not met. And because you didn't communicate, all the same buzzwords always come back, don't they? Because you didn't communicate early about this, and you were honest, and you were willing to risk the relationship. And I think that's what people don't want to do, because if they say, well, you know what, my family always does this, and I've been doing this all my life, and blah 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 blah, or da 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 da. That's from Bobby Jean. Da 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 da. I think I'll start using da 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 da.
Ah.
And because you weren't honest, and you were afraid that the other person would not accept that, or not want, or not want to change, then you just sort of kept it to yourself, which is deception. And then at the end of that relationship, now you're upset and disappointed and crushed, but you weren't forthcoming. And that's what
You
happens.
got to be truthful when it comes to a relationship, especially if you're going into a marriage relationship. This is a commitment that you're making for life. And that's a big deal, you know.
Kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. May not be for some people nowadays, you know, because people get married, get divorced, they keep it moving. But if you're a person of faith, usually getting married is something, it's a commitment that you plan to keep till death do you part.
So I think that you know what,
It's a big deal.
especially in a marriage relationship, it's very important because there may at some point be other people involved, i.e., children involved in that relationship. So you have to decide on the big things and agree on the big things early, because that's going to be, you're going to find that's going to be really, really important. You know, now we're talking about people who are more concerned with their careers first. They want to have a career. They want to do all this stuff first, and that's fine. If both people agree on that, that's cool. Whatever. I think, you know, I've had friends who decided that their children were actually their degrees. They went around the country teaching in places and getting degrees, and they're both doctorates now. They both have PhDs, and those were their children. That's what they spent all their young married time doing, and all their young married money cultivating. Not children, but degrees.
Degrees. And if that's
Personal,
what you want,
personal,
that's
personal decision.
great.
Personal decision.
That's a personal decision, and to have your degrees on the wall and everything, that's your accomplishment. Those are your babies, and that's fine for people that it works out for. But sometimes one may want to do that, and the other is looking at, well, my clock is ticking. I kind of want to have a baby, you know, and that's when the conflict comes in.
And my friends, their marriage didn't make it. Just as an aside, probably a whole bunch of other reasons, but that I am not privy to. But as it turned out, their marriage didn't make it. So I'm thinking maybe it wasn't enough. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't enough.
And it probably didn't really have to do with the kids. I think that they just kind of.
Well, maybe it just wasn't. It just wasn't enough. So.
When you're in school, the whole time that you're together, you know, you kind of don't have time to cultivate your relationship because you're cultivating your career. Some people can manage that. Some people can't.
Yeah. So that was kind of sad for me, but people make these choices all the time, and outside of a marriage relationship, if you're getting into a business relationship with somebody, you've got to understand that you got to understand, are you heading the same way? Is the business that you're getting into, or the business partnership you're getting into, something that you first of all you believe in, that you trust, that you think is open and honest, or is it just shady? Now the money may, people may be saying that the money is really great, but it may be shady. It may, it may be something that later on you think, nah, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to be involved in. That's why finding out and being in agreement with what you're doing early, and you're going the same direction early is important, because you may end up being locked into this thing financially and not being able to get out, and God knows what'll happen. And you weren't even all that cool about it the first part, in the first place. And it could be anything. I think during the financial crisis, a lot of people were getting into buying tax liens because people were behind on their taxes, and people were scooping down like vultures and taking people's property for like pennies on a dollar. And it was a quote great investment, but for a lot of people, they had trouble with it later because they were taking advantage of people who were really in the worst time of their lives. And then later they thought, golly, I don't know if I want to be a part of this.
Hmm.
But they had so much money invested, and now they had all this property. Now they were stuck.
And thus, a lot of people had to file bankruptcy and all of that.
Now they were stuck, and they were, and I think they were stuck not only financially, they were stuck morally too, because they participated in something and benefited from something that was frankly horrible. It was legal, but just because it's legal doesn't mean it was moral.
Morally
it was good.
correct.
So I think it's important that in any relationship that you understand the power and the importance of, first of all, agreeing on the big things, and going. Are we going the same direction? I don't think people grow apart in the way people think they grow apart. I think people stop going the same direction.
Hmm.
Or somebody goes one direction and they've gotten far enough, and they're like, I'm fine. And they plop.
And the other person
Wants to
continues
go.
to go, and there's a little.
And that's where you have conflict. So I think it's super important that you are agreeing on the big things, like we said, career, faith, family. Those things are the big things. Money, the big things, and be going the same direction. Are you both driven? Are you driven in any of those areas in your career? Are you driven? Are you fired up? And you may be going the same direction. Somebody, as far as faith goes, somebody may go, yeah, that church thing's okay. And somebody may have their head on fire for God. And then you have the same situation we just talked about, where somebody has sort of plopped down and they're comfortable there, and the other person wants to do missions every month. And
That's a big difference.
and that's a huge difference. Somebody who's okay with going to church once a month versus the person who wants to go on mission trips every month. So again, all these things are so important that you decide early if you can, because I don't think you can decide. Everybody can decide early. I'm not saying that may need to be a requirement, but I don't think it's a deal breaker if you're in a relationship or a marriage relationship for 7 years and you didn't decide all that early, that you were just
It's not a.
you're
just in love.
Okay, because and we're going to talk about that at some point, because there's an element that needs to be there, that has to be there. But it can't. But it can't overshadow everything else.
And as I mentioned earlier, I did that. I grew up a church girl. We go to church, and a child of faith. And when I met Willie,
Not so much.
not so much. I don't think they went to church at all.
I don't remember one time in my childhood going to church with my parents. Not once with my parents. I think I went to church a couple of times with my grandmother in Passaic because they went to church on Sunday, and I was with them on that Sunday, so I went. But I'm pretty sure I didn't go to church with my parents one time in my childhood. Not once.
Me, almost every Sunday. Every Sunday, and then you go to Bible study Wednesdays and Tuesdays, prayer service, and choir rehearsal Thursdays.
Don't know none.
We spent a lot of time.
I didn't know
in
nothing
church.
about that.
And so when I got out on my own, you kind of lose that little, that faithfulness. I still had God there, and I still heard the Holy Spirit and everything, but I'm grown, I know. So we were unequally yoked, and then when I decided I was going to go back to church, he was like, "That's you."
I said, "Go ahead, please, please, if it makes you happy, please go, please."
And so that's a big part of you. You have to be equally yoked in the marriage thing, because it bothered me that he didn't want to go with me. I thought it was just going to be, after so many years, then of course he's going to go. It didn't work that way. And there were several years, and we had our child, we did everything, and then me and Alex would get up and go to church, and It was years.
I didn't go.
He did not believe.
I didn't go. Well, you see, I don't think you understand. I didn't go because I didn't think it was a bad thing to do. I just didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
I tell people all the time. I told a pastor all the time that I was a good guy, but I wasn't a God guy. But I just didn't want to, and I didn't. And I wasn't like, you gotta spend all that time up at that church. I wasn't that person. I don't want people to get it mixed, get twisted. I wasn't that guy either.
No, he didn't. He didn't tell me I couldn't go.
No, I was like, please.
And he never talked down about it.
Never.
I paid my tithes. I did, all of that.
I never said one
Never
negative.
said a word.
I never said one negative thing. Not one negative thing. And occasionally I would travel. That's where you met the Smiths.
Hmm. Yes.
I went there a couple times. I mean, not that matter. I'm not trying to say, but wait. I'm not trying to mark down the times I went. Believe me, I'm not. But it was one of those things that was important that we didn't talk about beforehand, because it just wasn't my upbringing. It is now.
And I remember, when we were engaged and I moved down here and asking him once, are you going to be willing to go to church? And he still said no. I had already committed to saying I was going to marry him. And
I don't know.
no. So I still made that commitment and married him, knowing that, we were not yoked together. And thank God that because of music, music was what he did, and he loved it. And once I started going to this church that had an awesome praise and worship leader, and I was a part of the choir, and I did, musical things there and stuff like that. Pastor Stacy, praise God for him. And we prayed. I mean, we had a huge choir and musical department, and every week when we would pray. We would pray for him. And eventually, one Sunday he came. I just told him we're having a special musical thing, and I invited him. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it because we were so strongly in prayer for my husband. And that Sunday, we did the musical presentation and all the stuff that we did and stuff. And the pastor gave the altar call. And I think that because the music was so awesome and Pastor Stacy was so anointed, that it touched him.
I was just.
He was ready.
I'm not going to over spiritualize it or over emotionalize it either. I was just ready. That's it. I mean, it was for me. I was just ready, and I told Pastor Stacy afterwards that I wanted to play next Sunday, and he said okay. He had never heard me play notes. He had never heard me play a note. I could have been horrendous, which I am not.
But what you don't know is that I had already talked to him and told him about your musical experience and what you did.
He still hadn't heard me.
But he hadn't heard it.
He hadn't heard me play a note. I could have been horrendous. I could have been like, I could have been. Oh, he loves it. Yeah, he's been doing that for 35 years, but he's
terrible.
But no, and he said okay, and I haven't left the platform since. So again, it's one of those things for us that worked out. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, those things don't work out. They end up being a bone of contention that ends up destroying relationships and destroying marriages and destroying people's relationships with their, in their faith. They end up leaving their church or synagogue or mosque or whatever because they didn't think about those decisions early. They didn't think about the importance of that early.
And I don't want to make it seem like it was easy. It wasn't easy. I mean, there were times when I wanted to leave, and there were times, we fought. That we're not perfect.
I'm perfect. Okay, I'm not perfect. Me saying I'm perfect, I want to tell you right away that I'm
I'm
not.
making it sound like it was an easy walk, just getting through it. It was not.
And when you've been married 30 plus years now, we can look at these things in sort of a condensed manner. Some of this stuff took a long time,
It was years.
years. So when you're in that for a while, it's a lot different. Again, we can talk about it in a condensed manner, like it happened over a weekend, but it didn't happen over.
It was years.
It was years. It was years in transition. So. But again, which is why we're saying, we didn't do everything right. Some of the things we're suggesting that you do or that you consider is because we didn't do it right, and we know that that these things can be a struggle and they could be a hard thing to get through sometimes. So if you can avoid them to start with, that's better. And so hopefully some encouragement. If you didn't do it right, that you can get through it. It isn't necessarily a deal killer that you didn't do everything exactly right.
And another thing I want to bring up is that deciding on where you want to live, when in a marriage, because we met in Tallahassee, where I am from, and when I finished my schooling, he had already finished and moved back here.
Actually, I moved back down here because my mother had passed away, and I just came back. And my friend knew that I was sort of wafting in Tallahassee, and said, "Why don't you come home and help me out with band?" And I came home. So I was here, where I was home. I was comfortable. I mean, I'd grown up here. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, so I knew I wasn't going back there. God.
And so I stayed in Tallahassee, and we got engaged. So I had said that I would move to Tampa, and the main thing is because my sister was here too, and I had other cousins and stuff that were here. So it seemed like, okay, it won't be so bad, be down here, and we got married, and then my sister left. and it was tough finding a job and different things like that. So that was a struggle also in our relationship. I was just kind of floundering myself, wondering if I had, and I don't think I even told you that, I was wondering if I made the right decision coming here, because in Tallahassee I had a good job. I had, my family was there. You sometimes you need to be able to talk to your family when you're struggling.
And that is a big difference between Debbie and I. I didn't really have much family to talk to. I mean, I came back to Tampa because there were things that were familiar to me. I'd been in Tallahassee for a long time, but it was Tallahassee, But and I don't have any problem with Tallahassee. It's a lovely place. And it wasn't like I was coming back home close to family because my mother passed away. My dad and I didn't talk. I didn't even know when he died, so we weren't close. To give you an idea that we weren't close. So I didn't even come back to Tampa because of family. Not in the same way that Debbie was thinking about family. So I was just comfortable here. I knew where all the stuff was. Mm-hmm. So I was just comfortable.
And I was here and didn't know where all the stuff was.
It makes a big difference.
Before GPS, before cell phones.
MapQuest.
So we struggled a good bit in the beginning. So know that what you want with each other is the same, and just because somebody makes the decision to go along and be with what you want, don't assume that they are happy.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody's adjusting, like we talk about all the time. Everybody's adjusting, everybody's changing, everybody's getting used to the new situation or whatever the new normal is. And sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't go well. Some days it goes well, and some days it doesn't go well. Mm-hmm. We moved to Jacksonville.
Yeah, that happened.
6 months.
And actually, the good thing about Jacksonville was like it was an hour away from my family. So I love that part. So most weekends,
Except we were living in Jacksonville. We're living in
Yeah.
Orange Park, technically, and you could smell Jacksonville some days. That paper pulp. Smell that smoke. Awful.
yeah, we were there for 6 months.
6 months.
And every weekend I went to my parents' house. Every weekend.
I worked the Radio Shack. I worked the Radio Shack every weekend.
And I
a
had
second
just
job.
had a baby.
Literally just had a baby.
Yes.
So it was, yeah. And
Left a job that I had
just got baby.
just got pretty much and loved it. So
And there I was. Let's go. And as it turned out, I didn't like it either. So I think we were happy to get back here.
yes, we were.
We were happy to get back here. Like, oh, this is so nice. Oh, look. They're still working on Bloomingdale Avenue. They were doing that when we left 6 months ago. So we lived here and we lived in Jacksonville for a while. So, but again, those are kind of the things that you have to be it's funny, in agreement about. I'm getting all sorts of I get notifications from like Chicks on the Right on my Facebook page, and sometimes chicksontheright.com is just off the chain, just off the chain. They're hysterical. All right, listen, it's 9:30.
Back on point. But I think this is a two-parter.
Okay,
We need to finish this next
We can
week.
talk about this next week if you want.
Yeah, because you got. We talked about being unequally yoked, but that doesn't just mean Christianity. You need to be on the same path in everything.
In a lot of
in
things,
life.
You know, and I don't know if that's possible entirely, but at
No,
least I think you have to at least realize where people are going, where people are headed, or what their thought is. You know, and because those things are going to change.
I think you need to have a
Right,
checkup.
Jess?
You need a checkup
Right, Jess?
every now and then.
Things are going to
on
change,
your
right?
relationship. Have a checkup on your relationship.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. That way you can look and see are we still on the same path, or have we decided to do something else? Because sometimes circumstances, conditions, opportunities show up that may not have been there before, that might not even have existed before, and now you've decided that this is something that we want to at least try. Are we open to it? So, you know, we've got some really good friends that happened to, and it's nothing like they thought when they got married. A few years ago. It's nothing like they thought it'd be. It's great, but it's not like I thought it'd be.
Nothing like you think.
Nothing like I thought it'd be. So yeah, okay, we can talk about this next week if you want. We can continue this. If you guys who are watching either on Facebook or on what is that thing called?
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube spelled with a Y. Have experienced some of the same stuff, or have any questions about what we experienced and how we got through and how we got over, and now we got how we're getting past, because it never stops really.
No.
You never get to the point where we go, ha, all done.
We're here. We're done.
Ha ha!
30 years.
We made it. Ha ha! We win! Yay! No,
Because now we had a checkup in the last last year, and a lot of things have changed.
Things have changed, and we decided, we are deciding to maybe there are other directions, even at my advanced stage, that we're going to try. You know, that may be good for us, even at my advanced stage. I think that may be really important, and you can do that. I don't think you ever get to the point where I don't think you should ever get to the point where you're so settled and you go, we're here,
We're done.
back on the porch.
No. It's boring.
No,
On the porch.
I don't think that's the way that you ought to do it. I don't think that's how you keep things fresh. So yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit more next week. You can do a little bit more research. Debbie sort of came along for the ride this morning.
Yeah, he
Good.
chose the topic, and very good topic.
Well, I know. I know, I'm so humble. But All right, listen, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you.
Peace,
Peace.
love, and chicken grease.
Chicken grease. I thought it was peace, love, and hair grease.
Chicken grease.